Members, we do have the final bill, which is House File 715. Representative Greenman, please move the bill and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House File 715 to be laid over for possible inclusion in the Workforce and Business Development Omnibus Bill.
Thank you for introducing the bill. Please tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really grateful to be able to present House File 9 to support the Construction Careers Foundation with a grant of $375,000 in fiscal years 2022 and 2023 from the Workforce Development Fund. This grant supports their work of providing education and outreach to middle schoolers, high schoolers, and young adults to introduce them to careers in the construction trade. CCP does outreach and offers age-appropriate educational opportunities in order to provide career exposure and exploration to young Minnesotans as they're starting to think about their careers, and career readiness and a pathway to apprenticeship and employment when they're ready to enter the workforce. We have some great testifiers, and I know we're short on time, so I'm going to leave it to them to talk about the Construction Careers Pathways Program. But before I do, I just want to highlight a few key reasons I think this is a really important investment. First, I think this is an investment in Minnesota's workforce. CCF is focused on increasing the number of Minnesotans pursuing long-term construction careers and increasing the diversity of the Minnesotans pursuing careers in the construction trades. These are good-paying, rewarding, family-sustaining jobs that are in high demand. And CCF is working to increase the Minnesotans eager and ready to get the skills and training necessary to fill these jobs. It's about ensuring we have a new generation of construction professionals to meet the needs of our state. Second, this is an investment focused on increasing diversity in the construction trades workforce. They're doing it by increasing career exposure to a racially, gender, and regionally diverse demographic of young folks, and by prioritizing increasing the representation of Minnesotans historically underrepresented in the construction industry: women, BIPOC communities, veterans, and immigrants. And this is an investment in addressing some of the long-term disparities in our workforce. Last, it's about giving Minnesota kids in every corner of our state options and support to find a fulfilling career. In the last 3 years, CCF has served over 23,000 youth from 722 schools located throughout the state. The program reaches kids in middle school as they're just starting to think about jobs and careers. It provides navigators who can provide information and support as high schoolers are making career decisions, and a pathway to apprenticeship and skills in the construction workforce. And if you haven't checked out their website or their app, which I just downloaded, I encourage you to check it out. There's a lot of great stories and also information. With that, I will turn it over to my testifiers, Mr. Chair. I think we're going to start with Dan McConnell from the Minneapolis Building Trades and Construction Council.
Mr. McConnell, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for taking the time to listen to us today and our story. I'm Dan McConnell. I serve as the business manager of the Minneapolis Building and Construction Trades Council. I've been in this position for almost 9 years, and I'm honored to serve on the board of Construction Careers Foundation. I'll skip the introductions and just let people do them as we go, but Gary Thaden, who's up next, is the chair of our board, and I'll let him take the next part of the presentation.
Who did you say will be next, Mr. McConnell?
Mr. Gary Thaden.
Mr. Gary, welcome to the committee, and introduce yourself for the record and proceed, Mr. Thaden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Gary Thaden. I'm a contractor representative for over 300 construction contractors, and I serve as the board chair of the Construction Careers Foundation. And I just wanted to make sure you knew that construction employers also support this foundation. Then I'm going to turn you over to Pat Wagner.
Mr. Wagner, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and continue with your testimony.
Oh, good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Nord and representatives, for sharing this time with us. Representative Greenman did a beautiful overview, and because of time, I'm going to be kind of short because I think it's very important for you to hear from someone who has worked with many of our youth. We sent you about a 12-page kind of an information piece with another 2-page document. And we really do work with outreach with the mobile app that was just mentioned. The wonderful piece about the mobile app is we are going to be having it translated this year into Hmong and Spanish and Somali. And so we have this high outreach campaign, and really the total investment that we're looking at is to educate our emerging workforce about construction as a viable career, and not only the youth, but also to educate the influencers, the parents, the teachers, the administrators. You'll read through, we do the middle school activities called Learn to Build, because that's where we feel we need to plant the seed. That's when young people start thinking about this as a possible career choice. We have also some high school programming that you'll learn about, and particularly with the summer, there is the Trades Academy. And this is a 6 to 9 week time that youth get paid, an internship paid, to learn about construction as a career. We have multiple strategic partners that we could not do without them, which is, if you look on page 8 of your material, you'll see over 50 partners that are from industry, labor, government, business, schools. So if any questions come up even after this time, please reach out to us, because I really do want you to hear from our director from the Trades Academy, Sami Boutte, who's now moving into becoming a career navigator. He has the stories. So I want to turn it over to Mr. Sam Ibute.
Before I welcome Mr. Ibute, thank you, Ms. Wagner. And I just wanted to ask for 5 minutes, if members, that's okay, just to have extra 5 minutes in the session today to talk about this bill. So we'll add 5 more minutes. Mr. Ibute, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I want to take this opportunity to really thank you to present on behalf of Minnesota Trades Academy. It's an honor and a privilege for me to just be amongst your presence today. I'm very excited. Minnesota Trades Academy is an apprenticeship model where a lot of our interns get an opportunity to earn as they learn about the wonderful career option there is in the building trades. To achieve this goal, we offer about 72 internships to Metro High School students. The great thing is to make this a reality and also a possibility and something meaningful for a lot of our interns is we offer 2 tracks. Our track 1 program, which is kind of an introductory program, it's a residential-based model where we work with Habitat for Humanity, Goodwill Easter Seal, Urban Homeworks, and the senior community program out of Minneapolis, and the community of civilization out of St. Paul. What we do, we go into our community we serve, do a lot of revitalization of the community, either by restoring old homes that are either condemned, foreclosure, or distressed home. The beauty of this program is just to see the pride in our interns and our students. We want to help all these programs to keep costs down. So what we do is they buy the parts and we build it labor-free, no labor cost at all for them. That's just a little nutshell of what our Track 1 program is. It gets a chance for them to get exposed and also explore the whole process. Our Track 2 program, which is an advanced program, this is a program where a lot of our youth now are getting a provided opportunity to select a career in the construction pathway. The beauty of it is we've been very lucky that we got a buy-in from the UNIS apprenticeship training centers. Our students get a chance to visit 16 different apprentice training centers within the metro area. We travel all the way to Hinckley and all the way across the Lino Lake. So that's a logistic in itself that we do. Getting instruction from industry experts, getting a chance to use cutting edge technology, the same technology apprentices are using out on the field. This is a great opportunity. Nothing like this is actually present in the state of Minnesota. We're kind of always cutting edge and setting standards for a lot of our program. So I see this as a great opportunity for students to really get that feel of what it is to work on the field. And as Pat mentioned earlier, the director of this program. We started this back in 2017 with only 24 interns and 2 tracks. We're currently at about 72 internship we offered. Again, we got hit with the pandemic, so we had to kind of decrease our workforce to kind of meet some of the safety guidelines that was put in place for us. Again, to be respectful of everybody's time, I want to thank you again for giving us this extra 5 minutes. My new role now is just leading into the placement part. That's one of the huge barriers that we dealt with. Most of our interns that come into our programs are from the City of St. Paul, Right Track program, the City of Minneapolis, the Step Up program. We've got the U-Lead with White Bear Lake, and just started a new program here with Brooklink out of Brookings Center. 80% of our kids are free and reduced lunch. When we talk about the disparity, wealth disparity, barriers to employment, these are the targeted group that we want to create a lasting memory. I'm just going to quickly share a couple of stories with some of our interns. I was invited to speak at Roosevelt High School. It's a woodworking and welding class. There was a young man that was part of that classroom. After my presentation, he stopped and asked, my parents want me to go to college. I've been accepted to the U to go to college, but I don't know what I want to go to college for. I'm a visual learner. I love labs and not lecture. So he said, I could go ahead and sign up, get accepted for our program and see what you think. Jeffrey signed up for our program, perfect attendance throughout the 9 weeks of our program. He disappeared from my radar. 2 years later, Construct Tomorrow event at North High School, where we all table. I love our UNIS apprenticeship programs. We're there to just give our high school student a little taste of the valuable career option and kind of a day presentation. I finished setting up my table. Next thing I know, a young man comes up and taps me on the shoulder. I turned around and it's Jeffrey. Jeffrey just thanked me so much. He said, Sam, I'm 2 years out of high school. I'm currently with the Carpenters Union out of St. Paul, making $26 an hour. For him, I think our program also has a wraparound program where we talked about financial literacy. We talked about leadership and team building skills, resume writing. This young man, a part of that literacy is we talk about financial wealth. He said, I'm making close to $55,000 a year. Guess where I'm living? In my mother's basement. The reason for that is home ownership amongst us is not as prevalent as everybody else. They're able to reduce that 30-year mortgage to a 15-year mortgage. So by the time this young man is 40 years old, they own their own home. So these are some of the stories that I hear that gives me the fire in my gut to continue to do what we do for our community to build that wealth disparity within the underrepresented community. Another young man out of Henry High School came into our program. He was first year was too young. He was a 9th grader, but his dad owns a business in construction, and he wanted to really learn the whole aspect of it and wanted to be a bricklayer. He came into our program the first year as a 9th grader. He was one in our advanced program because his skill set was way beyond everybody else. Graduated, he wasn't quite ready for the workforce. 2 years later, I get a call from our presenter from the bricklayer. This young man now is an apprentice, 4th-year apprentice with a bricklayer allied craftsman out of New Hope, Minnesota. Again, just to hear their stories and the thank you that I get back from them. During the presentation at North High School, Sam, the coordinator, I asked him, how did Jeff get the position to be here? And he said, all he did was call the hall and said, send me your best apprentice. And they sent Jeffrey. For me, I think when we talk about the wraparound program, yes, we want construction, and that's what really brings us together. But again, for our interns to be leaving lasting positive impression in our community, we want them to reach their full potential as a human being. That's one of our priority. So just out of respect for time, I'm going to leave the table for questions, and I'm going to pass it back to Pat. This is my first ever legislative meeting, so this is new to me. I'm excited, and so thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. Trades Academy is something that I believe gives a lot of our Minnesota youth a valuable career option to really say, hey, we have to build this gap where we talk about wealth disparity. Owning homes, this young man is going to own this home when his parents passed away. That's an inheritance. I never got an inheritance, but I had to honor and bury my father. But now we're changing lives. We can't change the lives of everyone in the world, but this young man, Jeffrey's life is changed for the rest of his life. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to continue changing one life at a time. Thank you. I'll pass it back to you, Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Ebute. Did you have any other remarks, Ms. Wagner?
No, due to time, we'll open this for questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lead Hamilton, you have questions, 2 questions, because we don't ask any questions in any other format rather than put it on the record.
My question was, has this program received funding in the past from the legislature? And if so, what amounts?
Mr. Thaden. Representative Greenman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say, I actually thought about putting it in the direct presentation because I knew that would be your question. CCF got the same amount last biennium. So the request is the same as the last budget cycle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It should.
Any other questions from members? I don't see any discussions. I know I appreciate Representative Greenman for bringing this bill forward. I know we want to also look into, because it deals with some of the youth programming and the few resources that are available through the Department of Labor, including the Youth Build program. I don't know if Mr. Thaden or Ms. Wagner can give us briefly if there's any funding coming from the Youth Build program.
Mr. Chair, we do not get any funding from the Youth Build program. The other funding that CCF gets that is not part of this request is the Helmets to Hard Hats program. And we get money through the Department of Labor and Industry to help military veterans transition into the construction industry. That's the other funding we get in addition to some fundraising that we do to supplement what we get from the state.
Thank you so much for the response, Mr. Thaden. Representative Greenman, I don't see any questions from members. Please renew your motion and give us your closing remarks.
I renew my motion to lay this bill over for possible inclusion. And I will be really brief because I know we've gone over, and I would like to leave it with the words and the stories that Mr. Ebute told us. This is an investment in the future of Minnesota's workforce and also in the thousands of Minnesota youth who the construction career pathways will reach across the state. So I'd ask for your support, and if you'd like to co-author, I'd love that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Representative Greenman. Renews her motion, House File 715, be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. So to the testifiers, thank you so much.